Okay, we're back again with lessons from the Leshem, and now we're going to be doing part 6, which is the continuation of the topic of why did God decide to create the world. And just for a quick overview, what we were talking about is something very profound, which is basically the main question is, does God need to create the world or not from his perspective? And ultimately from our perspective, and there seems to be a contradiction between different rabbanim about this, about whether how could God have any necessary for anything besides himself? He's the ultimate perfect being, and on the other hand, it's clear that he created the world for some purpose. So therefore, that's what we've been discussing here. And the answer we're getting is, now we're on the part where we're starting to build up the introduction to the answer. And the way the Leshem solves this is by bringing the idea that there are 3 aspects concerning the Holy One. In the previous class, we discussed the first 2. Number 1 is the idea that the aspect of God as essence, which means God is so beyond, he's such essence. There's absolutely no need for no perfection. It's completely independent, completely unknown, completely impossible to comprehend aspect of God. And now to say aspect is already complicated because obviously God is everything. So to say an aspect is already to put some kind of limitation, God forbid, on it. But the reason we need to do this, bring the Leshem, and he says very carefully to be careful about how you understand this, is because we're limited as human beings, so our capability to understand the infinite is therefore limited. So we're basically trying to understand the infinite in our limited way. So therefore, this is basically the best we can do. So God as essence is completely beyond any comprehension and completely without any need for anything at all in complete perfection. Then the second aspect is known as the Ein Sof. And the second aspect is referring to the will of God. That God decides that he has will, so to say, and therefore he wills the world into creation. So this will is not manifestation yet. It's a pre-manifestation. It's a stage of wanting something to happen. Just like if a person wants to buy an ice cream cone. So first he has to want to buy the ice cream cone, and then he'll actually go and buy the ice cream cone. So that is the will to revelation or manifestation, also known as the Ein Sof. And today, getting to our lesson, is the third aspect, which is the manifestation itself, how Hashem manifests. And the third aspect, so now we'll go to the text. The third aspect concerning the Holy One Yitbarach Shemo is his actual manifestation, which is revealed via his great name, the 4-letter name, the Havaya name. So just to give a little background there, what that's referring to is Yud, Hey, Vav, and Hey. That's the name of Hashem, and that's the name that he's called. And there'll be other lessons where we'll discuss that in more detail about what the aspect of using this name. But this is his essential name, and this is the way he's manifest through into the world, the Havaya name. And along with but as well as that, then other names come out of this name, and other monikers, and et cetera, et cetera. His name are one, because he himself is revealed via this name. So therefore he has a name, but by making a name, therefore he's one. Just like, and it's really just very simple the way we also interact. If you want to talk to Joseph, you say, "Hey, Joseph," and if the person's name is Joseph, he'll turn around because you know that he is being called by his name. Same thing. If we want to get, but the name of Joseph is not Joseph, but on the other hand, it is the interface to talk to Joseph. And in some ways, that becomes a unified thing. When people think their name becomes who they are. So he and his name are one because he himself is revealed via this name through its enclothement. Now, enclothement is an interesting word. It doesn't actually exist in English, but it's the best way to describe a very important principle also in the Kabbalah, which is how things interrelate to each other. In Hebrew, the word is hitlapshut, and so his essence is mitlabesh, it's enclosed in Atzilut, and that through his name. So now God has a name which he can now interact with the rest of creation. He is revealed there, i.e. in Atzilut, to be the purpose and root of all potentiality and actions in order to create, fashion, and make all the rest of the worlds. So Atzilut is the world, still a world of potential. It's a world that's unified with God, but where his will is manifest to the point where there's a potential for the rest of creation. Then we have Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah, which are the next three worlds that come after that. Bria is the world of creation of something from nothing. And Yetzirah is the world of creating of something from something. And Asiyah is the actual physical world. These are stages of the unfolding of creation. To go into that in more length, there'll be in other classes, but just to touch on that so you understand what's going on more or less. So these worlds contain endless amounts of created beings, each being having a size, measurement, and limit in their existence, and they are continually under his supervision. So in Bria and Yetzirah, these beings are spiritual, and in Asiyah, that's the actual physical creation, ants, trees, rocks, etc. So all occurrences and matters pertaining to every detail, every created being, occur within measurement and scope and restriction. His divine light and abundance originates and continues to sustain and influence all these creations and their events, constantly, without ever stopping even for one moment. And this all happens via the enclothement in the coverings of the various garments. So that's another terminology that's often used in Kabbalah, is things that are, the enclothement is seen as garments, as layers of, like the example of layers of clothing. So thus, all these creatures and creations, they exist because of him, and they come into being from him himself, blessed be he, in a manner similar to how all actions of the body occur via the soul, and all of God's names and monikers that are mediators through which he himself is revealed. And that is the whole way it works. The idea of the soul being in the body is one of the classic ways that the Kabbalah uses to give us a way to understand how this works. The soul animates the body, and then the body actually creates actions. And that's similarly with God's names and monikers are the vehicle by which action comes into actualization. So the world of so they're continual initiations of all actions that occur in the worlds of separation, Bria and Asiyah, are emanating from the world of Atzilut, which the literal translation of Atzilut is emanation. It emanates out of Atzilut and then becomes action in Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah. Therefore, the worlds of Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah are all created and continue to exist only due to the impetus and continuation of the manifestation of his abundance via his divine names, through which he himself emanates completely throughout the world of Atzilut. As God, blessed be he, said to Moses, our teacher of blessed memory, regarding his request to know his name, they have asked me, what is his name? What should I tell him? This is found in Exodus, right? God answers Moses by saying, you are requesting to know my name. According to my actions, I am called. Lafi Masai ani nikra. So through God's actions, we know that he exists. From this, we can understand all his names. Therefore, themselves are the roots and the means for all activities and actions, because only for this purpose were all his manifestations and his names established and revealed in the world of Atzilut. Furthermore, these divine names in Atzilut were revealed only for the necessity of enabling the means for all activities and actions that occur constantly in the world of separation of Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah. Therefore, all these revelations of his names in Atzilut transpire only in order to facilitate the worlds of Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah. Therefore, all these divine names are manifested into the worlds of Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah in order to be the constant cause and effect of all activities and actions that occur within these three worlds of separations. So in order to, just to conclude this lesson for then we'll continue on next time. There are three aspects of God, so to say. The first one is completely unknown, completely enclosed, completely impossible for to understand, his essence. Then there is the will to be revealed, which is the Ein Sof, in which the God decides, for whatever reasons he decided to, that he decides he wants to be manifest. And then there's the actual manifestation itself. And now we'll get to see in the next lesson how the Leshem then uses this to explain the quandary of why there was a necessity for creation of the world. Any questions?
Just, I guess, one question would be, first of all, thank you. And my question would be, so in essence, did we say that Hashem's names themselves are even the bridge between his essence and Atzilus? Like, as in, before his name itself brings about his very emanation? Or his name is a product of his emanation? Like, does Hashem's names, do they come post his emanation, or are they the means that Hashem uses to not only bring about his, so to speak, actions of Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya, but even Atzilus itself?
So the names are Atzilus, basically. In other words, that is what they are. They're known as Sfirot and things like that, but basically the names are manifest in Atzilut. So it's sort of both what you're saying. In other words, Hashem wants to manifest. The way he manifests is by having a name so he can be called upon. And that name then is also becomes the interface of between what can't be interfaced with and what can be, in both directions. In other words, we're praying to Hashem, and so how are we going to pray to Hashem? Well, there he has a name, so now we can call out to him, right? And then that name, that is the name, especially when it goes down to the name of Elohim, then is what supervises the whole world, and also before that created it. So the creation of everything comes out of the name, and the supervision of everything comes out of the name, and the way we return to God, so to say, is through the name. So the name is the ultimate interface, right? And that's but that name is also unified with God, so to say, with the essence, because that's exactly what its purpose is. So when we can't call up to the essence because the essence is beyond comprehension, but we can call to Hashem's name, and through that we are calling to Hashem, and that's why we call him Hashem, right? What does Hashem mean? It means the name. It's not Stam that became the term for it.
Wow. So Atzilus, so in essence, Hashem's names and Atzilus are kind of like, they emanate Hashem's essence, so they are an expression of Atzilus, and they exist within Atzilus simultaneously. That's kind of like what we're saying.
Say it again. I want to make sure I understood what you're saying.
Yeah, for sure. So are we saying that they are like you said, the interface and means through which we have, I guess, which Atzilus is expressed through, and thereby they're the connector between Hashem's essence or Atzmos and Atzilus, and that we said, is it also that, so to speak, they exist? Do they permeate within like an olam, so to speak, of Atzilus? Do they also permeate within an olam of Atzilus? Or Atzilut, are they just themselves the
names of Atzilut? In this way, we're discussing the names in Atzilut basically mean the same thing. The name of Hashem is Atzilut. But the way it's discussed in Kabbalah doesn't always sound exactly like that. But from our perspective of what we're discussing here, yeah, the names of Hashem are Atzilut. It means the same thing. In other words, Atzilut is where the names are. The names are basically Atzilut. There are other ways Atzilut's described besides the names, but it's the interface. The name and Atzilut is the interface between God, which is beyond comprehension, and God's manifestation, which is us. Creation, supervision, and the feedback loop of our prayers and our worship and our existence.
Amazing. Thank you very much for the clarity.